Alexander Isak has already indicated that he might not choose the number 9 shirt at Liverpool. Alexander Isak is desperate to join Liverpool, and he will likely do anything he can to secure the move. When the news broke that the Reds were prepared to make a move for Isak, the whole of social media went into meltdown. Ever since then, the story has gained significant traction, and the transfer has gone from a dream to a genuine possibility. The Reds may have spent almost £300 million already this summer and brought in a striker in the form of Hugo Ekitike, but they are prepared to make one last big move to sign Isak. The Reds have always dreamed of having Isak as their number 9, and this might become a reality, although he has already suggested that he might take a different shirt number instead. Alexander Isak could take the number 14 at Liverpool instead. There is always something so appealing about the big striker donning the number 9 shirt for the club you support, especially if they are such a big name like Isak. However, a lot of pressure comes with wearing that shirt, and at Liverpool, some of the greats have worn it throughout time, including Ian Rush, Robbie Fowler, and Fernando Torres. Despite this, Isak has already hinted that he might not even take the number after performing so well with a different one at Newcastle. "I'm doing well, and I'm happy with the number 14, but on the other hand, I know the number 9 is a special shirt," he told Alan Shearer in an interview with BBC Sport. He took the number 14 as a subtle nod to his footballing idol Thierry Henry, who wore it at both Arsenal and Barcelona. If he were to wear this at Liverpool, however, he would have to take it off Italian Federico Chiesa, although the winger might have already departed by the time Isak could arrive. The number 9, of course, is currently occupied by Darwin Núñez, another player who may not be around for much longer. But if they both are, then someone might be left rather upset by the Swedes' arrival. Liverpool should do everything they can to get Alexander Isak. It does not matter how much the transfer fee would cost, how much the agent wants, or even what squad number he would demand. Liverpool need to do everything in their power to get Isak through the door. An opportunity like this one does not arrive very often at all, and after chasing him for so long, this could be their only and final chance. He is the perfect striker for the Reds as he can do everything. He is quick, creative, can use both feet, and is equally adept with his head. At 25, he also still has room for growth, a frightening prospect for a player who is already so talented and has so much experience. Under Arne Slot, and surrounded by the likes of Florian Wirtz and Mohamed Salah, his move is a recipe for success. It is now all down to both clubs finding an agreement. Benjamin Cesco impressed by Man Utd as final price tag confirmed. Benjamin Cesco has reportedly been informed of Manchester United's project. Benjamin Cesco is reportedly impressed by Manchester United after being made aware of Ruben Amorum's long-term plans. A pursuit of a new center forward could lead the Red Devils towards making a formal approach for the RB Leipzig star. United will not be deterred in their search for a new number 9, despite missing out on Liam Delap and Victor Gyokeres. Amorim has already improved his forward line with the additions of Brian Bilmo and Matheus Cunha. An upgrade through the middle would take United's attack to another level. Cesco reportedly remains a target, but Newcastle are also interested in signing the 22-year-old amid strong speculation that Alexander Isak could leave. According to Sky Germany, United have laid out their project to Cesco and have proposed figures ahead of potential talks over personal terms. The Slovenia international is said to be impressed by United's interest. It is claimed that Leipzig won at least £64 million for the forward. That could mean United have to sell before they can buy, having already spent around £130 million on Mbeumo and Cunha this summer. United have so far struggled to offload a string of fringe players, including Alejandro Garnacho, Antony and Jadon Sancho. Marcus Rashford has only joined Barcelona on loan, with the potential to make the deal permanent for £26 million next summer. Ruben Amorum's Man Utd project has reportedly been made clear to Benjamin Cesco. Cesco has been linked with Europe's biggest clubs ever since he burst into the scene at Red Bull Salzburg as a 16-year-old. He could finally move to the Premier League this summer, with Newcastle reportedly keen on him as a potential Isak replacement. United boss Amorim insists any player who joins the club this summer will need to be fully invested in his project. He told the club's media channels, They have to want to come here. I think what we can do to the fans is that we want players who have proved themselves already. Sometimes you have a player with a lot of potential, you have to be aware of that. But all the players that are coming, we need to know the player. We need to talk to the player. We have to explain the project. And then one really important thing is that they want to come here. That is the key point. If during the market we can find someone that can help the team and have all that boxes with them, we are going to do it. If not, we cannot do it because it's an important time in our club. Newcastle racing to sign phenomenal star who outscored Isak last season. On the hunt to end their search for a striker at long last, Newcastle United are now reportedly battling to sign an impressive target who outscored Alexander Isak last season. Newcastle's striker search goes on. It's been a disappointing summer for Newcastle, but it's especially been a woeful last 7 days. Having missed out on Hugo Ekitike, it seemed as though the saving grace in that saga would be that Liverpool settled for the Frenchman rather than Isak on top. But the Swede has since dropped a bombshell on the Magpies. Reports swiftly emerged earlier this week that the forward's thigh injury was simply a smokescreen for his desire to leave St. James Park this summer to spark what could be an almighty battle between the player and club as the transfer window progresses. Having his say on the matter, Eddie Howe told reporters, "Of course there are things going on behind the scenes. He will be aware, he's in the news every day, and I'm sure that's not easy for anyone in that situation. Conversations that happen between Alex and the club, or Alex and myself, will stay private for obvious reasons. We do share a really good relationship with him. He's been magnificent for us since he's joined. He's very popular in the dressing room. We'd love him to continue his journey at Newcastle." Isak's desire to leave Newcastle isn't even the latest of a long line of disappointing news this summer, however, with their pursuit to sign Yoane Wissa taking a major twist. Now, with the Isak sage continuing and Wissa off the table for now, Newcastle have reportedly set their sights on a familiar face. Newcastle battling for Mitrovic's return. According to Caught Offside, Newcastle United are now battling to sign Alexander Mitrovic from Al Hilal this summer, with those at the club warming to the idea of bringing him back. The experienced goalscorer who still loves the Magpies, despite his time at the club not ending in the way he would have dreamed, could put his St. James's Park failure behind him once and for all with a return this summer. 7 years on from leaving Newcastle, Mitrovic is far more well-rounded and even outscored Isak's 27-goal haul last season, with 28 of his own in all competitions, and loves St. James Park, once calling it his favorite away ground while at Fulham. It was during his time at Fulham that the Serbian earned the most praise, with manager Marco Silva going as far as to describe him as phenomenal in 2022. Now, at 30 years old, Mitrovic could return with a bang to St. James Park to hand Howe an unexpected solution to his growing striker problems. When will Victor Gyokeres make his Arsenal debut? Mikel Arteta offers update on £65 million signing. Mikel Arteta has suggested Arsenal fans might have to wait for their first sight of Victor Gyokeres in the club's shirt. Arsenal play rival Spurs on Thursday. Gyokeres did not report for Sporting pre-season. Arteta: "We will assess him. What happened?" Gunners fans would have hoped for their new £64 million, $86 million, man to feature in the first North London derby to take place outside of the UK. Gyokeres is in Asia with his new teammates. He was unveiled before the Gunners 3-2 win over Newcastle in Hong Kong, but Arteta has suggested the Arsenal medical staff need to assess his fitness before he confirms his availability. The bigger picture. Gyokeres held out of Sporting CP's pre-season to help push through the protracted transfer. His new manager said that while his medical was passed without a hitch, they need to get him up to speed with the right levels of fitness. Arteta did not completely rule out the 27-year-old from appearing on Thursday. What Arteta said: when asked if Gyokeres would participate in tomorrow's training session and the North London derby on Thursday, Arteta said, "Well, I think he hasn't had a single training session with the team since the last game with Sporting when they became champions. So we will assess him tomorrow. He's done all the medicals. Everything is looking good, but to get him up to speed with the right levels of fitness, I think is very important. So we're not going to stop him. We want him with us as quick as possible, but we'll have to assess, and the medical team will do that. What next for Gyokeres? Gyokeres will be chomping at the bit to get on the training pitch alongside his new teammates. The Swede, who will adopt Thierry Henry's No.14 shirt, needs to prove his fitness ahead of the Gunners' first Premier League game of the season against Manchester United on August 16th. Newcastle prepare big contract proposal as Alexander Isak to Liverpool takes twist. Alexander Isak wants to leave Newcastle for Liverpool. Newcastle are reportedly preparing a huge contract proposal as they consider their options in the wake of Alexander Isak's explosive transfer demand. The Swede has set out of the Magpies' pre-season tour to Asia after asking to leave the club, having asked for his wages to be bolstered to £300,000 a week. Liverpool were put on red alert following the revelation, having already spent nearly £300 million this summer and bringing in fellow striker Gyokeres. A formal bid is expected to be launched from Anfield, which would smash the British transfer record. Newcastle want to keep Isak at St. James's Park, but are seemingly not willing to break their existing wage structure to appease the talisman. He would earn twice as much as top stars such as Sandro Tonali and Bruno Gyokeres as a result. In turn, Newcastle have been forced to look at succession options for Isak. Their sights appear to be set on RB Leipzig wonderkid Benjamin Cesco, who has previously been linked with Manchester United and Arsenal. Transfer expert Fabrizio Romano claims that Newcastle are working on a significant contract proposal to Cesco, with the club ready to go big next week. These 7 days are considered crucial for the Slovenian's future. For the latest breaking stories and headlines, sign up to our Daily Express transfer newsletter. Newcastle are pushing for Benjamin Cesco. Newcastle are also ready to approach Leipzig over Cesco in the knowledge that a gentleman's agreement exists allowing the 22-year-old to leave this summer for potentially as much as a fixed fee of £69 million, with a further £8 million in add-ons. Cesco's arrival would go some way to soothe the pain of losing Isak, especially to a Premier League rival, with Liverpool's transfer kitty bolstered by the imminent sale of Luis Diaz to Bayern Munich for £65 million. They could also sell Darwin Núñez to Saudi Arabia to raise further funds. And Eddie Howe has called for Newcastle to make a decision shortly on their plans for Isak. The ownership, together with the board of directors, the decision will rest with the board, Howe said. There's a whole football club that has to make the decision. He also confirmed that there was no chance Isak would join up with the rest of the squad in South Korea. I've got no major update on that, Howe added on Isak, after an injury was first cited for his absence. He first mentioned his thigh just before the Celtic game. We assumed it would be a very minimal injury, nothing too serious. And then on the Monday after the Celtic game, he went in from training very early and didn't feel right. So he's now in Newcastle getting that injury assessed, and hopefully he'll be back soon and playing in the black and white shirt. That's what we all want to see. Liverpool's distance ahead of Man Utd never clearer as rivals take Alexander Isak's stance. The growing gap between Liverpool and Manchester United is highlighted once again, with both clubs showing vastly different stances towards striker Alexander Isak. Liverpool has no competition from Manchester United in the race for Alexander Isak. The widening gap between Liverpool and Manchester United has been thrown into sharp focus once again, this time over their contrasting approaches to Newcastle United striker Alexander Isak. Isak was left out of Newcastle's traveling squad for their pre-season Asia tour, which begins with a friendly against Arsenal this weekend, citing a thigh injury for his omission. However, reports from the Daily Mail suggest Newcastle is also aware of Isak's interests in exploring transfer options, one of which could be a move to Liverpool. Isak still has 3 years remaining on his contract with Newcastle, and the club is keen to retain him. Newcastle's chief executive, Darren Eales, confirmed last season that discussions about a contract extension would take place during the off-season. Despite this, Isak is currently hesitant to commit his future to the Magpies as he considers his next steps. Meanwhile, rumors are swirling. Liverpool is reportedly prepared to make him the most expensive signing in Premier League history. Liverpool previously indicated it would be willing to offer around $162 million for Isak. However, with Newcastle firmly refusing to sell, no formal bid was made, and the club instead secured Gyokeres' signature. Whether Liverpool will view Isak's apparent desire to leave St. James's Park as a renewed opportunity remains uncertain. At Anfield, Isak is seen as a proven Premier League talent and a reliable option up front. Despite spending nearly $400 million this summer, the Reds have yet to offload Darwin Núñez and have rejected offers from Bayern Munich and Barcelona for Luis Diaz, resulting in a crowded attacking lineup. A move for Isak might become viable if circumstances around Núñez and Diaz shift. Alexander Isak is being linked with a move to Liverpool this summer. A new center forward was United's top priority this summer, yet over $175 million has been spent on two attackers who operate best playing off a central striker. Club executives continue to explore the market for a true number 9, with names like Ollie Watkins and Nicholas Jackson recently discussed, but Isak has not been among their primary targets. Despite being regarded as one of the best in his position globally, Newcastle's firm stance on keeping the Swedish striker led United to look elsewhere. Even now, the financial demands of signing Isak make a deal highly unlikely. More importantly, it's questionable whether he would leave a Champions League campaign with Newcastle to join a club that finished 15th in the Premier League last season. Even if United could persuade him, the deal would require significant financial maneuvering. While Alejandro Garnacho is one of their most valuable trade assets, Newcastle is already well stocked in wide attacking positions, limiting the viability of any potential swap. It just shows the gap between United and Liverpool couldn't be wider.